Yo, what's going on, guys? HyperX here. Welcome back to another video for Cyberpunk 2077, and today I want to talk about some new information that has come out this week, both from a brand new Xbox gameplay trailer and also the most recent Night City Wire. They dropped the final gameplay trailer for the game, which looks incredible. We got a look at a load of new things, perks, customization, combat, and also some media had a chance to go hands-on and talk about their previews. So in this video, I want to go over 10 things we have learned about Cyberpunk 2077. So if you guys do enjoy this, then a like would be super appreciated, and if you guys are excited for the game, make sure you stick around, turn on those notifications, because we have got a lot of stuff coming your way as we get closer to launch. Also, I want to give a massive shout out to Argos for very kindly sponsoring this video. If you guys want to place your pre-order so you can get the game on December the 10th, then you can click the link in the description box down below to order from there. Anyway, starting from the top, of course I mentioned the brand new gameplay trailer, which I'll link down below because you guys definitely need to check it out. Gameplay trailers, especially like the launch ones, are incredibly hype, and this one shows off lots of cool stuff: character creation, cyberware, perks, upgrades, gunplay, characters, Johnny Silverhand, and plenty more. Honestly, the more I see of this game, the more fantastic it looks, so definitely can't wait to jump in next month. However, one of the things we got to see a little bit earlier this week is the Xbox gameplay. Now, one of the things that everyone's been wanting to see up until this point is how this game runs on console. Everything up until now has been shown on PC, which understandably looks incredibly nice, but now we got a chance to see console gameplay. Now, this looks fantastic. It is worth noting, for those of you guys that maybe missed the information, when the game drops on console next month, we will basically be playing the last generation version, which sounds kind of weird. I know now that PS5 and Xbox Series X are out, we're technically in the next generation, so saying like PS4 and Xbox One X are last gen sounds kind of weird, but anyway, that aside, what you'll basically be playing is the PS4 and the Xbox One X version of the game. They have gone on record to say that it will still look better on PS5 and Xbox Series X. However, for the full-fledged next generation patch for consoles, that will be coming in 2021. But they did say in the investor call, again, as mentioned, if you're playing it on the current systems, obviously you'll benefit from the nicer load times, but the game will still look better, but you won't be getting the fully fledged robust upgrade till a little bit later. That being said, taking a look at this gameplay, honestly, it looks fantastic. It switches between Xbox One X and Xbox Series X, and yeah, if you're really looking forward to this game, honestly, I would not have any gripes jumping in and playing it on console on day one. You know, I mean, obviously you can kind of revisit it later to play it with the robust upgrade, and to be fair, when you look at the game and the amount of replayability there is, you're probably going to be doing multiple playthroughs anyway, but regardless, console gameplay looks fantastic. Again, if you want to see this in its entirety, I will link this down below so you can check it out. However, moving on from there, quick one on the character creation front. They had a little sort of segment that flicked through a few options. You have plenty of presets. I've spoken about some of the options in the past, but most notably, this one has good beards. This is, of course, an incredibly important thing for me in any game that has character creation, so I'm happy to say that beards are a thing. Moving on from there, talking about Johnny Silverhand, one of the things they showed during the Night City Wire yesterday was, of course, a kind of behind the scenes on creating Johnny Silverhand, plenty of motion capture with Keanu Reeves, which looks incredible, but CDPR described Johnny as the co-protagonist of the game. There comes a point in the game where, upon inserting this chip into your mind, you quote-unquote meet Johnny, he's in your head, and CDPR described this as a ticking clock, because he's gradually trying to take over your mind. So quite how the story will pan out, whether helping him is also bringing you closer to the end, we'll of course have to wait and see, but regardless, this new Bill and Ted game is going to be wild.
Excellent! Party on, dude.
However, moving on from there to talk about something else in-game related, which is crafting. So when it comes to the game, obviously, you know, there are plenty of upgrades, plenty of weapons to obtain, but you can also craft items. So the way crafting works is that you dismantle loot as you go throughout the game, and you collect common, rare, epic, and legendary materials. Then when you have the appropriate blueprints, you can then create matching quality items. Now in the previews, where they had a chance to go hands-on for about 16 hours, the crafting was largely reserved for healing items, healing sprays, and weapons, but crafting can also extend to mods, cyberware, and likely other items, grenades, that kind of thing. Additionally, you can also continue to upgrade your weapons and items that you like to bring them with you. So you find something early on in the game, you find a katana you really like, you find a gun you really like, then you can continue to upgrade it to bring it with you. And it's also worth noting that crafting can be done anywhere, anytime. Quite whether that actually makes like thematic sense is neither here nor there. The point is, from a convenience standpoint, you can quite literally just dive in your menu and begin crafting. So you won't have to like go back home, go to a crafting bench or anything like that. You can just pick up the menu and go. Next up on the list are some special digital items for linking your GOG account. GOG, of course, is the platform that CDPR owns, so of course that's understandable why they're driving people to there, but it is worth noting this does not mean you have to pre-order from GOG, you can just link your account. So basically, no matter where you've purchased, whether you buy on Steam, Epic, GOG itself, or even the consoles, if once you've purchased the game, you link your Cyberpunk game with a GOG account, you'll be able to get a variety of in-game digital items as a reward. These will include a Witcher-inspired Wolf School jacket, a variety of other cosmetics like t-shirts, plushies, even like a knife and a katana. However, it also works both ways, because if any of you guys play other CDPR games, Witcher, Gwent, stuff like that, then if you link your game, you will also get some items in Gwent. There's like this really cool Samurai Cyberpunk card back and coin, also some titles, things like that. So basically, if you just want a few fancy digital items to enhance your experience, then go ahead, link the account once it's out, and they are yours for free. After that, we then got to look at some perks and upgrades. Now, I've spoken about this in the past. I've spoken about how the upgrade tree works. If you guys missed our like full-scale Cyberpunk preview where we broke down like absolutely everything we got to go hands-on with, then you probably have seen this before. However, now we got to look at it in the gameplay. We got to sort of see the refined and kind of revised UI layout. But first things first, they jumped into, of course, the cyberware stuff. We're going to look at a few things here. They equip or have equipped a legendary item for the operating slot system that provides 10 base RAM, which, as a reminder, is what you use to perform hacks. This also has 6 mod slots and has perks that allow you to perform quick hacks while scanning, increases the time it takes for enemy netrunners to hack you, and increases the quick hack speed distance, and even increases your RAM recovery rates to 6 units per minute. Items and cyberware come in varying rarities, so naturally you'll want to look out for some of those legendary and exotic pieces. But we also get to see the character progression tree, again the one that I described beforehand. You can see that on the top level page it's divided into the 5 primary attributes: body, reflexes, technical ability, intelligence, and cool. They then dive into the reflexes page to reveal all the perks you can unlock. Again, pay attention to the fact that each category has multiple pages. Some have 3, some have 2, but in this one they jump to the blades page, a personal favourite of mine, and quickly hover over a few perks. Nothing kind of super noteworthy, but you've got things like Flight of the Sparrow, which reduces your stamina cost when attacking with blades, Slow and Steady, which increases your armor whilst moving, and Offensive Defense, which gives defensive attacks with blades 200% bonus damage. I am, without question, 100% speccing into melee as much as I can when I play. I just want to kind of be melee / hacking and just do all the cool stuff like that. Screw guns, I don't need guns. Anyway, moving on from there to talk a little bit about the interactions with the world. There are plenty of organic interactions. This came from some of the media previews. GameSpot mentioned that in their 16-hour preview, gone are the days of pressing X to interact with NPCs. If you want to kind of just go around and speak to someone, you quite literally walk up to them and then you've got a few openers and the conversation begins. Furthermore, and this sounds incredibly cool, the way that dialogues play out are really organic. They said that they had a mission earlier on in the game that they did for a fixer to get some eddies, which is the currency in Cyberpunk. Only upon completing it, they forgot to claim that reward. Now later on, they then had a conversation with that same NPC about something completely separate, but amidst that, there was an option to bring up that outstanding payment, which is really crazy. The fact that everything seamlessly links together is going to be nuts for replayability. You are probably going to be in a position where quite literally no playthrough will ever be the same again. So that I cannot wait to see. It's also worth noting, for those of you wondering kind of how the game's going to play out, in a preview from IGN, they said that the game is much slower paced and definitely very much an RPG first. Now, this, if you've played games before by CDPR and whatnot, you're probably very much expecting, but I think a lot of people, depending on what camp you're coming from, you may be looking at Cyberpunk stuff thinking about going into it as a shooter, and I think it's important to set expectations correctly. IGN said that the game is much slower paced. It is definitely an RPG, not an action shooter. They said it took 6 hours to get to just the title card, that's like your prologue, so definitely very heavy influences on the RPG front, which again, we expected. The prologue itself will take you somewhere between 4 to 7 hours depending on how fast you go, and after that the game does open up and it's like go where you want, do what you want, which I kind of got to experience in my hands-on preview. I kind of saw the tail end of the prologue, at which point the map just opens up, you can go wherever you please, you can do whatever you want, go to shops, go to missions, pick up side quests. Basically from that point onwards, the order in which you play the game is really up to you, because we do know that branching quest system does mean that you're going to have a very different experience to everybody else. But I think it's just important to note that, given the RPG influence, given the RPG kind of elements, you are definitely very much playing an RPG with combat and shooting versus a shooter with RPG elements. Speaking of combats, there's plenty of stuff on the combat choice front. From the media previews, while it's clear that at the start of the game, combat is going to feel pretty limited, and it will take a few hours to actually spec into a playstyle you really enjoy. And as mentioned, it is of course very much RPG first. That being said, there are a lot of options when it comes to approaching combat. In an IGN preview, they spoke about how in one mission, they worked through 5 floors of a compound, not once drawing their weapon, instead opting for a stealth playthrough with plenty of hacking. They then went on to say that when they did get into fights, they had built a very specific playstyle that allowed them to tag an enemy and reveal all surrounding enemy locations as like holograms through walls. They were then able to charge up a laser rifle and quite literally shoot through walls. Kind of reminds me of the Farsight in Perfect Dark. Anyone remember that gun? I love that gun. Anyway, the point is that gave them a completely different way to interact with the world. So while on the surface, again, as mentioned, it's not a shooter in the conventional sense, if you approach the game for gunplay alone, you might be a tad disappointed. But what you really want to be doing here, and in this game, is leaning into inventive and creative ways to play to really see what the game has to offer. PC Gamer also mentioned that they actually really enjoyed melee combat, which I know some people commented on how limited the katana gameplay looked, but apparently it feels super satisfying to use. So yeah, that's really good to hear for me, because again, I want to lean into melee combat, blades, gorilla fists, katanas, basically anything that doesn't involve me having to use a gun. Although having said that, a gun that shoots through walls like the Farsight, you might have me tempted. But anyway, for the time being, that is a look at some of the stuff that we now learned about Cyberpunk from the recent media previews, the gameplay trailer, and the Xbox trailer. So hopefully you guys found that helpful. Hopefully if you've missed any information, that's kind of got you caught up. And again, as always, be sure to keep it locked because we'll have plenty more Cyberpunk coverage coming in the next few weeks because we are getting incredibly close to launch. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed that video. Don't forget, if you haven't already done so, you can join the HyperX Gaming Discord. We've got an awesome community over there with so many different channels for you to chat loads of different topics and different games. I'm in there, the team's in there if you guys want to chat with us, find people to play with. It's just in general a great place to be. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to turn on those notifications so you don't miss any of our future uploads.